Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
on Pulse 95.
Exciting day. It is hump day, so we are halfway through the week, guys. We are nearly getting closer and closer to the weekend, so stay strong. We're gonna get there, don't worry. And welcome to the Afternoon Karak. This is Aisha Al-Mazmi running solo for a little bit longer before Mikhail is back, and so is the Dream Team. Today we have a fun-filled hour as usual. I know I always hype it up, but am I wrong? I'm not wrong. You guys know that this is the magic hour of Pulse 95. We're going to kick it off with a celebration. Basically, I'm going to keep the celebrations coming. It is a great month, the month of September. One of my favorite months simply because it basically tells us that summer is gone for a good while, even though a lot of you guys are suffering under the heat, myself included. And I get it. You guys are telling me, Aisha, this is all a joke. There is no way that, it is actually fall, or the fact that we have fall here in the UAE. But, however, if you guys have been listening to the morning majlis, I'm pretty sure Abdul Karim Hanif and Rania and Ahmed have been telling you or hyping you up about a star, which is called in Arabic, or at least in the Gulf, it's called Sahel. And when you see that star, it simply means that the summer days are gone and we can bring back those sweaters, those hoodies, not as if I've ever stopped wearing them, because if you are a hoodie person, it means that you are a hoodie person for life. Also, on this hour, we are going to be going and checking out all the celebrities that were out there in the Met Gala 2021. After a year of not having that big event, we are back again, even though you and I probably have little to no information, or basically have no right to be judging people on their fashion, but that is the magic of the Met Gala. Also going to be talking about something big, and that is Hawkeye's first trailer. We were hyped up by it a couple of days ago. Actually, I believe it was on Monday. Sunday night. Because again, it was the whole time zone thingy. So even though it was Sunday, it was Monday, but it was Sunday night over at the United States and during the Western Hemisphere. And basically what was happening is they were hyping us up about getting the first trailer that is going to be coming out for this long-awaited TV show. Also coming up next, we're also going to be talking about Dune. We're getting closer and closer to that release date, but also there's that whole conundrum with HBO Max and all that. And we're going to have a discussion about why is it a good idea or is it truly a bad idea, even though it's like it's a 50-50 thing. It's a he said, she said thing, and it is basically viewers versus executives versus directors versus actors and actresses. It is a whole mess, but it is a mess that we're going to be unfolding right here on the Afternoon Karak. So make sure you are staying tuned and staying locked to none other than Pulse 95.
What's the date?
What's the date?
What's the date?
What are we celebrating today?
All the way back in 1885, there was a massive, very, very important invention, I'd call it. And I'd say even though it has been a staple in American diet and in American culture, it has swept the way, swept across the world basically, and it became a staple for a lot of people, especially people with a sweet tooth, because it just happens that September is the month of milkshake. So happy Milkshake Month to everyone, or simply just a shake month. I believe it was around maybe sometime 2013, 2014. It was probably the first time. No, it wasn't the first time I ever have a milkshake, but it was the first time I kind of cave in and try out a milkshake with my burger. And I get it. I understand. Because back then I was like, this is ridiculous. For some reason, the idea of having something very sweet along with my burger that is so savory just made absolutely no sense. However, if you think about all the different soda pops that you guys drink and we all drink and love, whether it's Coke, 7-Up or Fanta or even ginger ale, and maybe even some of the juices that we enjoy and love, watermelon juice. I don't know, sometimes orange juice can be very sweet as well. It makes sense. It kind of works out. So I tried it out, and honestly, it was one of the best combinations ever. I have no idea who thought of that, but that person was the genius. Just pairing milkshakes along with burgers. And unfortunately, due to some dietary issues, I wasn't able to do that a little bit longer. However, one of the first things I did eventually was try out all kinds of milk alternatives, because I was very determined to be able to drink milkshakes, because my mom basically taught me, or basically made me get so used to having banana milkshakes just a little bit too much, and I started craving them really badly at some point. And it was very upsetting to see her serve it to everybody else except for me, because I cannot have milk anymore. So I was very determined, and I found out that soy vanilla milk along with banana is just, what they say, chef's kiss. It is out of this world, guys. If you haven't tried it out, trust me, just trust me on this one. Soy vanilla, which is a milk alternative, and do not come knocking out this idea before you try it out. I know a lot of you guys are very adamant about their milk, but trust me, when you try out some milk alternatives, sometimes they work better with those shakes in comparison to regular milk, simply because they add to that extra dimension of flavor. So just don't knock it off until you try it. Just trust me on this one. I think my favorite milkshake, like I said, because I grew up on it, is banana milkshake, which honestly, I feel like I don't look like a banana milkshake person, but I love my banana milkshake. I love my chocolate milkshakes. And I'm not a big fan of strawberry milkshake, simply because when I grew up as well, I wasn't that big of a fan of strawberry milk. Still am not. It does not click well with me. However, bananas are just perfect, especially when you start adding more things to it. Lately, what I've been trying to do is try to add more texture, trying to add more dimensions to it. Like I said, soy vanilla is one of the most important parts of banana milkshake, even though I feel like sometimes that milk might get a little bit too sweet, and bananas are sweet themselves. So to tone it down, I would add peanut butter, and obviously everybody knows banana and peanut butter are a match made in heaven. And along with it, just to make it a little bit more, what you'd say, sufficient, simply because I can probably drink 2, 3, 4 banana milkshakes one after the others, because that's how good it is. But I started adding some oats to it, some nutritional value add to that, and it is so good, guys. Just try it out. It is incredibly fun to do. To make. Milkshakes are those things where you can go crazy with. You can just add things one after the other. But my question is, if you do not add ice cream, does that make it less of a milkshake? Or is it still a milkshake even when you do not add ice cream? Because sometimes I feel like if I add that milk, I don't feel like ice cream is necessary, even though you might say that it needs to be nice and thick, and that, the cold feeling, that texture is required. But if your fruits are frozen, they can give you the same texture and feel. Maybe that could be a way to make it a little bit healthier in comparison, even though there are various types of ice cream. There is sugar-free ice cream that is really good, lactose-free ice cream, etc. So there are so many ways you can customize it and personalize it, and that is the reason why we are celebrating Shake Month in September. Text me 4215 Itisalat or do tell me, what is your favorite milkshake? What is your favorite flavor? What have you added? How did you customize it? How did you make it yours? What did you add to it that makes it your own specialty? Like I said, I like adding peanut butter, and I like adding oats sometimes to my banana milkshakes. It just makes it so good. Share your recipes with me. I'd love to hear about them. I'd love to try them out as well. If you guys have been tuning into the afternoon karak, you'd know that I'm a big fan of trying out all foods and just seeing if I like them or not. So Go ahead, 4215, it's a lot or do. I'm going to be taking a short break, and coming up next, yes, even though we are all the way here in Sharjah in the UAE and just chilling in our cars and at homes, that doesn't mean that we cannot judge people about their fashion. Yes, we're going to be talking about Met Gala 2021 coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
On Pulse 95.
Due to the pandemic last year, there were a lot of the big events that were either cancelled or basically pushed indefinitely into 2021, or they became sort of like an online spectacular instead. And one of them was none other than the Met Gala, which I believe a lot of people missed simply because it's always fun to watch celebrities and judge them from the comfort of our homes, and that is exactly what we're going to be doing in this segment. Let's kick it off by talking about the theme of this year and how vague it is. Today, this time, it is called In America, a Lexicon of Fashion. I had to look it up because I genuinely do not understand what this theme is, because usually the themes have some sort of, I'd say, boundaries, some very kind of lines you can navigate and understand, but this one is kind of very vague and open to interpretation, because this year's Met Gala is all about fashion in the USA, and people were basically, or at least the attendees, have been trying to follow that by giving their interpretation of it. But honestly, nothing can top the 2018 Met Gala. That was just a spectacular thing to watch. Who are the co-chairs for the Met Gala 2021? It is Timothée Chalamet, Billie Eilish, Amanda Gorman, and Naomi Osaka, which is a good and interesting variety of people. And I honestly, it's very interesting that they picked them. And I love the fact that they're all quite young. And it just shows that they are fully aware that the young people, or at least in this generation, is very interested in fashion and are basically spearheading this entire movement. As for pandemic kind of precautionary measures, there was a vaccination requirement for all attendees. That means that they must provide a proof of full vaccination and were expected to wear masks indoors except when eating and drinking. Now let's get to the good part, which is basically judging every single person. Let's kick it off with Billie Eilish, one of the co-chairs. She took me by surprise. She was giving very old Hollywood era kind of vibes. It was a beautiful, beautiful big dress, and honestly, it was a very pleasant surprise, and it was a very different thing, something you would not expect out of Billie. But then I think it also follows her new music era as well. It coincides with the same theme, so I'd say she was one of my favorite best dressed of the night. And honestly, the most confusing one have to be Kim Kardashian. I know every single one of you were as confused as we are as to what does the whole ensemble means, but it's not the first time that we have her do something as crazy or as unexplainable as this, especially if you go backwards and check out every single Met Gala appearance for her, and none of them ever made sense. Now, obviously, Iman had to basically go and wow us, and it only makes sense for this amazing fashion icon with her massive, I wouldn't call it a headdress, but it's sort of like a headdress. It was very interesting, a very interesting and beautiful and bold choice. I'd say one of the most notably dressed of the night. And also, I have to say, they were very colorful, and I'd say some of them have kind of learned their lessons from the previous Met Galas, where a lot of people were... To say that they were judged is an understatement, basically. But yeah, I mean, another person who also wowed me, at least, was Serena Williams. She looked spectacular and beautiful as usual. Her dress was very gorgeous, the colors and whatnot. And again, because the theme is kind of vague, I feel like a lot of these dresses kind of fell into it, and it kind of made sense, especially if you look at who made them and what they mean. And yeah, and another person, obviously, the other chair, Amanda Gorman. Goodness, she absolutely wowed us with that beautiful, beautiful dark blue or navy dress with the sparkles, etc. And I'd say it was all in all, very interesting and very colorful. But again, is it one of my favorite Met Galas? Is it one of those Met Galas that I will remember, like the 2018 one? Not really. As for the men, it was unfortunately just kind of weird as usual, or kind of mediocre. No offense to all the men out there, but they could have tried a little bit harder. I mean, that is the usual criticism, negative criticism that they get, that the women usually end up wowing everybody with their beautiful gowns and dresses, but the men just end up wearing very plain suits, even though we've had some of them who kind of changed it up a little bit here and there, but not all of them. Honorary mentions: Hunter Schaffer and also CL from Blackpink. She was amazing. Every single one of them was quite interesting, but again, not the, I'd say, most notable Met Galas that we've had so far. Coming up next, a short break, but right after that, we've got Hawkeye's trailer. Guys, we need to talk about that. And also, we're going to be talking about Dune and the whole HBO Max versus Warner Brothers conundrum, and so much more right here on the Afternoon Karak.
Pulse 95.
Make a cup of tea. This is Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
You're listening to Pulse 95.
We finally got our first look into the long-awaited Hawkeye, because it's kind of been radio silent about that show. We've been getting just those pictures every once in a while. I mean, even the announcement for Katie Bishop, which is going to be played by Hailee Steinfeld, she was not really announced as, wasn't as big of an announcement as some other cast members, even though she is going to be an integral part of the upcoming MCU phases. Of course, we kick off this trailer, and I had to break my trailer rule just for you guys, because I had to watch this teaser. How else am I going to talk about it with you guys, right? 4215 Etisalat, or do, if you have watched it, tell me all about it and what you think about it. So first of all, we see Jeremy Renner, who is playing none other than Clint Barton, basically being the family man, and he missed out on integral years when he obviously was part of the Ronin, and he was going crazy and berserk, and obviously his children were snapped all the way back in Infinity War and Endgame, and then so he had those moments where he was kind of a problematic person, to say the least. And because of that, again, because of the snap and what was happening, he missed out on being a father to his kids. And that is exactly how we kick off that trailer, him basically making promises. But you know what happens? Usually when any trailer or any movie has these sort of promises, it does not bode well for them, and it does not actually play along. And of course, his cast as Ronin actually catches up with him, and he basically has to make some sort of amends, even though we're not sure what those amends are, especially since people are very confused. They're basically saying, is Ronin back? Because, or at least they don't actually call him Ronin, but that is his official name. And they're like, is he back, and what is going on? And he basically has to go out and investigate, and in that process, he comes across Kate Bishop, who eventually becomes his protege and eventually becomes none other than Hawk Girl. So far, I see that is a good trailer, even though, as usual, I need to complain about the fact that it is incredibly long. It is too long. Those trailers keep getting longer and longer, and I don't think we're going to be getting any short trailers anymore. As the movies and TV shows get longer, so are these trailers. And it is quite interesting, very action-filled, as it should be. And I'm looking forward to seeing more and more of Kate and Clint together. I feel there's going to be a lot more comedic moments. I mean, I'm not saying that we did not get these in the past two MCU TV shows, because that was an important part of Loki, even though Loki was quite serious. Same goes for the Winter Soldier and the Falcon, because even then, even though it was quite serious. It was that very comedic banter between those two individuals, and I think we're gonna see the same thing, especially since Clint Barton is, even though I wouldn't say he's incredibly serious, but he's become more and more serious over the years and the movies and whatnot. But it's going to be very interesting trying to see him take on Kate, who is going to be a fresh face. And I love Hailee very much. We've all seen her in various roles, so she is more than capable of carrying this role. So I'm so happy to see her in this upcoming new MCU phases. And we're not going to need to wait too long for this TV show. Is going to be coming out in November 24. It kind of was giving off holiday season, Christmas season kind of vibes. So we are going to be getting that very, very soon. It's going to be around that time. And does that mean we're going to be getting Miss Marvel at the very end, or basically at the end of December, or are we not? I don't think we're going to be getting this Miss Marvel actually anymore. I mean, this year we're still getting it, but not this year, because if you think about the timelines, we basically have a break from Shang-Chi all the way. Shang-Chi and also What If is going to be ending very soon. Then we have the Eternals all the way in November as well. And then we get Hawkeye. And then after Hawkeye, we have the long-awaited Spider-Man 2 movie. And that Spider-Man movie is going to come out also at the end of December. So that's where I feel like maybe it's not going to work out. We might not be getting Miss Marvel, despite the various rumors and the various speculations, including the ones from us right here on the Afternoon Karak. But not anymore. I think it's probably going to be something that we're going to be seeing sometime, maybe January, February, right before we eventually get the other long-awaited movie that is Doctor Strange in the Universe of Madness. That is going to be coming out in March 2022. As usual, the hype is real and the hype is strong. Cannot wait to see more of this. November 24th. November is going to be a good month for all superhero fans and Marvel/MCU fans as well. I'm going to be taking one more break, and coming up next, we're going to be talking about film critics and all kinds of people just weighing in about Dune, one of the most long-awaited Warner Brothers movie that's been pushed back for basically an entire year. It's going to be coming out at the end of the month. I believe we are 10 days away, if not a little bit more, from that movie. And apparently, Warner Brothers is still going to stick to its original plan of having it simultaneously released in theaters and on HBO Max. Is it a good or bad thing? Join in the conversation. 4215 Etisalat or do. Love to hear from you. We're going to be taking a break. Coming up next, right here on Pulse 95.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah
On Pulse 95.
I think a lot of fans were incredibly upset and sad when they heard that Dune was going to be pushed back indefinitely last year until they eventually announced that it's going to be coming out very soon, and that is in September 2021. And there was a lot of people who are incredibly vocal about the fact that, one, what is going to happen about the fate of the movie? Is it going to be in the theater, or is it going to have a simultaneous release on HBO Max? And of course, there was a lot of sides to it. There were a lot of people who were either on the directors and the theater side, or at least they were the type of people who believed, or at least were very adamant, that a movie that such as or as big as Dune should only be premiering in theaters. And I understand what they mean, because what else are they going to do with something that is as big and grand as a movie that has been hyped up by a lot of people, including Denis Villeneuve, the director himself, and the cast as well. I mean, it only makes sense that it should be also in theaters. However, due to the fact that Warner Brothers did basically announced that they're going to be having simultaneous releases for some of its big movies that would never expect to be appearing on a streaming service along with a theatrical release. Again, the directors, including Denis Villeneuve himself, he was one of the most vocal people out there. In fact, he basically said that there is no chance that, or at least they're not giving a chance to Dune to basically perform if they're going to just take it and put it on HBO Max. However, sources close to the production themselves say there is no chance due to the pandemic. There was actually absolutely no chance for Dune to perform to its obvious potential due to the fact that, there are a lot of theaters that are basically running on low capacity, and there's the pandemic is still ongoing across the world. I mean, yes, if we're talking internationally, the box office is doing kind of good. It's not as good, of course. I mean, look at Shang-Chi basically becoming one of the most watched movies, or basically highest grossing movies in the box office, international box office, and also in the local US box office since the pandemic hit. And yes, that means that there is a chance for those movies. But if you think about how big Dune is, it just begs the question, will they even break even in the first place? Especially since it is a very long movie. It's a very kind of movie that is not as popular. It is popular, I'm not saying it isn't, but not as popular as something like a superhero movie, especially since superhero movie can easily be watched and rewatched by people of all ages. Meanwhile, movies like Dune, I'd say, would go for people who are a little bit older, or people who would appreciate those kind of movies. So it just goes back to the whole, basically, it being, or at least coming out in a window that would be considered an unfortunate window. However, I really think that it's all about basically a balance, and the directors should, and then the actors, actresses, producers, basically the entire team should basically accept it, that this is going to be a model for a lot of movies going forward, simply because, one, it is an available option now, and honestly, I feel that we live in a very lucky era where we have access to streaming services and alternative links. So that means that no matter where you are, whatever is happening, you can always have access to those kind of movies, especially during these very hard and difficult times. And in addition to all of that, we also need to be thinking about the fact that it's not going to perform as well. So is it even a good idea to have it out in theaters? Yes. Maybe not. Yes, no. It all goes back to personal preferences. And I know that there's a good chunk of people who are very adamant at having those movies, simply in theaters, which is very interesting. It just tells you that the culture of theaters, or the movie-going culture, is not going to die anytime soon. And there are people who are very adamant about the theater experience and would love to experience it that way, myself included, to be honest. I do understand that there are some movies such as Dune that should be viewed not only, but mostly in a theater. But then again, if it's all about a balance, honestly. Just think about that. And also, Denis Villeneuve was promised that it all goes back to how well it performs on HBO Max, and even if it doesn't perform as well in theaters, he was promised a sequel for the movie. So I think it's a win-win situation, kind of. Who knows? We just need to wait and see. Earlier in the hour, I was celebrating Shake Day, or Milkshake Day, with you guys, because September happens to be Milkshake Month, and we have our lovely Hind, one of our favorite listeners. She says, "Hi Aisha, vanilla soy milk is awesome, but I've never tried it with banana. We'll definitely try it. Just trust me. Even though sometimes it might be a little bit too sweet, so you might need to balance it out with regular soy milk or your other favorite milks. It will work out." She also says, "My favorite is oat milk with banana and frozen blueberries. Yum." That is absolutely correct. That does sound very, very yum. That's definitely going to be a smoothie or a milkshake that I'm going to be trying out very, very soon. And with that, I have to wrap up, guys, and make way for Yella Home, the amazing duo that is Big Hass and Anna Schofield. But that is okay. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same vibes on the Magic Hour, only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.